Essential tools for furniture assembly. Knee pads, so you don't bruise your knees. If you're doing a lot of furniture assembly, especially professionally, I have a soft one and a hard one. Both are great. Next, we have a work apron. These are great. These are cheap. You can stick the hardware in here, your screwdriver, box cutter, anything you might need right away, put it in there. A drill. This is a drill driver. The bit is interchangeable. This is great because you can save your wrist that way. You don't have to get the most expensive thing. I think you can even get like some random smaller brand for 50 bucks or something. I have a DeWalt because the trade school that I went to, they had DeWalt everything, so I figured those were best quality, or like for most like long-term durability. I don't know if that's really true. I know there are other good brands out there. I do have a drill driver, not an impact, so that I could interchange the drill bit that I could use instead of the impact drill bits that like click on. So this is great. This is probably the most useful tool ever. It comes with a ratcheting bit driver, sockets, screwdriver bits, Phillips star, square, hex. Doing any assembly, you usually have to use that tiny little Allen wrench to, you know, wind everything up and screw everything in. And instead of doing that, you can just find the exact bit. And the great thing about these and having a drill driver, this will fit the handle that it comes with, but it's like straight up and down, so it's not rated for an impact. But you can use this and screw it in, or you can put it on your drill driver and screw it in that way. So this is great. Obviously, sometimes you can't, you know, squeeze in the entire drill where you're supposed to screw in that bolt, so sometimes it's not that useful. But for the most part, instead of having to like do it over and over and hurt your wrist in the long run, you can have your drill screw in that bolt. So this tool is really great. It comes with so many little pieces. I'd be able to lose any of them, so I totally recommend getting this. Next, we have gloves, so that if you are cutting through cardboard a lot, you can avoid giving yourself a cardboard cut. Especially if you're doing like an IKEA set that comes with 3 boxes, you might want to open everything just to figure out where the instruction manual is. So if you're going through opening so many cardboard boxes, to avoid getting a cardboard paper cut, I usually wear gloves. I used to exclusively work and assemble wearing these gloves, but I stopped because it's just easier to be working with your bare hands. But yeah, I do recommend getting gloves, especially like at the end of the job when you are breaking down the boxes for the client. Some clients want the boxes broken down and like cut down to really tiny pieces. So if you're working with cardboard over and over, having gloves is really, really clutch. Then we have a mini hammer and a little towel. You can also use a mallet, but I already bought the mini hammer, so that's what I use. When you're assembling for IKEA, or, you know, typically the board isn't like real wood, right? It's particle board. So you don't want to apply too much pressure as you would be able to do with a regular hammer. So a little tiny hammer goes a long way. And if I'm like trying to push in something, like you're not actually supposed to use a hammer, but it's hard on your wrist to push in a piece, like for IKEA, I put a little towel over the edge and then tap it with a hammer. That way you don't damage the particle board, and that way you don't, you know, kill your wrist in trying to push everything and putting all your weight on your wrist to snap something in or something. So that's what I usually do. The mini hammer and a little towel. Good to have a little solid colored towel. Lay all your hardware in there. You can separate them there to be more organized, but usually I just go right ahead and start the assembling. But this is great because sometimes the client will ask you to assemble it on like a really colorful rug and you have hardware and you lose it in there, or like a furry long-haired rug. Oh my gosh, those are like a nightmare. You can't find anything in there once it gets lost. So I like to lay out a towel, pour all the hardware, and then get started. Next we have a screwdriver. This is just from Vessel. That's interchangeable. You should always have that when you're doing furniture assembly. Scissors and a box cutter. I just have one from Husky, and this is just from like the dollar store, but I think it's like, oh, it's Scotch brand. But yeah, box cutter should suffice, but sometimes it's just faster and easier to cut through with scissors. And then we have the not so obvious. This came with like an IKEA set, and basically you put a little nail in there so that and you put this at the edge so that it's easier to hammer in the nail in the back of the particle board. That way you don't ruin the particle board or make it crack at the edge. And then I have a random white nail polish because most of the furniture assembly I assemble is actually white. So it's good to just patch it up. Next we have wood glue. This is just like an extra one that came with it, and I saved it. And if something chips on the inside or something, you can just glue it up, and these dry faster. And lastly, I have my water pump pliers from Knipex, and this is good if you put the wooden dowels in the wrong spot accidentally. You can pull things out, and it's just. Do you have any other suggestions on what you should get other than a mallet? I'm not gonna get a mallet, okay? Please leave it in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace. Filming outside because honestly this is more better noise than